Forget your blood pressure number for a moment. Forget your cholesterol. Not because those things don't matter, they do, but because underneath both of them sits something smaller, thinner, and far more important. Something most people have never heard of. A single layer of cells, just one cell thick, lining the inside of every blood vessel in your body. And right now, quietly, with no symptoms whatsoever, that layer is either doing its job beautifully or it is quietly failing. And the difference between those two outcomes is going to have more to say about whether you live to 90 in good health than almost anything else in your medical chart. By the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what this layer is, what it does, what damages it, and most importantly, what you can do about it starting with your next meal and your next walk outside. So stay with me, because this one changes how you think about your whole cardiovascular system. Here's the thing nobody told you in school. Your blood vessels are not passive pipes. They are not just inert rubber tubes carrying blood from one place to another. The inside surface of every artery, every vein, every tiny capillary in your body is lined with living, thinking, working cells. And those cells form what scientists call the endothelium. It is the largest organ in your body that most people have never heard of. If you could peel it away and lay it flat, researchers have compared the total surface area to the size of several tennis courts. All of that folded into the walls of your blood vessels, and every square centimeter of it is alive, active, and making decisions about your cardiovascular health right now. Think of it this way. Every blood vessel in your body is a castle. The endothelium is the drawbridge. When it's healthy and working right, the drawbridge knows when to open and when to stay firmly up. It reads the pressure and the flow of blood moving across it. It senses what your body needs, and it releases a tiny molecule that tells the walls of the vessel to relax and widen. Pressure stays low, blood flows easily. The castle stays protected. But when that drawbridge is damaged, when it stops working the way it should, the bridge gets stuck in the wrong position. Vessels clamp down when they should be open. The lining turns sticky. Blood pressure climbs. Plaque begins to build. And you never feel any of it. That's what makes this so treacherous and so important to understand. Now let's talk about that tiny molecule, because this is where it gets genuinely remarkable. In 1998, 3 scientists, Robert Furchtgott, Louis Ignarro, and Farid Merad, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for discovering that nitric oxide acts as a signaling molecule in the cardiovascular system. Nitric oxide, a gas, a simple 2-atom molecule. And the Nobel Committee described the discovery as an entirely new principle for signaling in biological systems. Because the idea that a gas produced by one cell could pass through membranes and regulate neighboring cells was completely unlike anything science had seen before. Here is what nitric oxide does for your drawbridge. When your endothelial cells are healthy and functioning well, they produce nitric oxide, and that molecule diffuses into the smooth muscle of the vessel wall and tells it to relax. That is the gatekeeper gently lowering the drawbridge at the right time, smoothly, in perfect response to what your body needs. Vessels widen, blood flows easily, pressure stays low. Nitric oxide also stops platelets from sticking together, which helps prevent the clot formation that triggers heart attacks and strokes. It is, in a very real sense, your cardiovascular system's most important peacekeeping chemical. And when levels of nitric oxide fall, when the endothelium stops making enough of it, the drawbridge jams shut. Vessels tighten, pressure climbs, the surface turns sticky, and you are now quietly, invisibly, sliding toward the wrong side of cardiovascular history. So what jams the drawbridge? What actually damages the endothelium and shuts down nitric oxide production? A few things, and they'll sound familiar. Chronically high blood sugar is one of the most potent. When glucose levels stay elevated over time, it directly damages endothelial cells, triggers inflammation in the lining, and impairs their ability to make nitric oxide. Smoking is another. Cigarette smoke is one of the fastest and most reliable ways to poison the endothelial lining, and the damage begins with the very first exposure. Chronic inflammation throughout the body, driven by processed food, poor sleep, and unmanaged stress, keeps the drawbridge in a perpetual low and sticky state. And sitting still, not moving your body for hours at a time, day after day, starves the endothelium of the one physical signal it needs most to stay healthy. Which brings us to the solution, because this is where the science gets genuinely hopeful. The endothelium is not a one-way street toward damage. It responds, it repairs, it adapts. And there are two things you can do, starting today, before this video ends, that research consistently shows will support nitric oxide production, protect that drawbridge, and keep blood flowing the way it's supposed to. The first is food, specifically leafy greens and beets. Here's the mechanism, and it matters that you understand it. Vegetables like arugula, spinach, and beetroot are among the highest nitrate foods in the entire food supply. Natural nitrate, the kind found in these plants, is not the same as the synthetic nitrate in processed meats, and the research on the two is very different. The nitrate from vegetables takes a fascinating route through your body. Bacteria that live naturally on the back of your tongue, yes, in your mouth, convert that plant nitrate into nitrite. Then, once that nitrite reaches the bloodstream and tissues, it gets converted further into nitric oxide. This is the nitrite-nitric oxide pathway, and it's been documented in peer-reviewed research going back decades. The key paper by Litter and Webb at King's College London, published in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology in 2013, laid out the full pathway and confirmed the range of beneficial vascular effects, including reducing blood pressure and improving endothelial function. And the clinical evidence on beetroot specifically is worth knowing. A randomized controlled trial in hypertensive patients compared nitrate-rich beetroot juice to nitrate-depleted beetroot juice, so the only difference was the nitrate. And the group getting the real nitrate showed a mean reduction in systolic blood pressure of around 9 millimeters of mercury, compared to essentially no change in the control group. That is a clinically meaningful blood pressure drop from a food source, not a medication. Now, a single food is not a drug, and I'm not telling you to cancel your prescription and start drinking beet juice. But that signal, consistent, repeated across multiple studies, is real. And arugula, spinach, celery, chard? Research suggests they may be even higher in dietary nitrate than beetroot. Your endothelium has a food preference, and it leans green. Here's one practical note on this that a lot of people miss. Because the conversion of nitrate to nitrite depends on mouth bacteria, using antibacterial mouthwash right before eating these vegetables can actually reduce the benefit. The research on this is preliminary, but it's worth knowing. Don't rinse out your oral bacteria immediately before a nitrate-rich meal. The second thing, and this one might be the single most powerful lever you have, is movement. When blood flows across the endothelium, it creates a physical force called shear stress. Think of it as the gentle friction of moving blood against the inner wall of the vessel. And the endothelium is exquisitely sensitive to this force. Shear stress directly activates the enzyme responsible for making nitric oxide, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, or eNOS, by phosphorylating it at a specific site. In plain language, when blood moves across your endothelium, your endothelial cells interpret that movement as a signal to produce nitric oxide. The drawbridge gets oiled. The gatekeeper gets to work. This is why exercise is not just good for your heart in some vague general sense. It is a direct, specific, mechanical trigger for nitric oxide production in your blood vessel walls. Every time you go for a brisk walk, every time your heart rate goes up and blood moves faster through your arteries, you are triggering this response. And the beautiful, underappreciated part is that you do not need a gym or a marathon. A daily brisk walk, enough to make you breathe a little harder than resting, is genuine maintenance for your drawbridge. Research consistently shows that aerobic exercise improves what scientists call endothelial function, meaning the ability of vessels to dilate in response to increased blood flow. That improvement is, to a large extent, a nitric oxide story. And here is something that trips people up badly. You cannot compensate for 8 hours of sitting with 1 hour at the gym. The endothelium needs shear stress regularly throughout the day, not in one big burst. Long periods of sitting reduce blood flow, reduce shear stress, and let nitric oxide levels drop. Get up every hour. Walk to the kitchen. Take the stairs. The brief movement breaks matter, not as an added bonus, but as the actual mechanism. Your drawbridge needs the flow. Now, the mistakes. Because there are a few ways people hear this information and immediately go wrong, and I'd rather you not lose the benefit on a technicality. Mistake number 1. Thinking about cholesterol and blood pressure numbers while completely ignoring the lining itself. Those numbers matter, yes, but they are downstream of the endothelium. High blood pressure is often what you measure when the drawbridge has already been stuck shut for years. Cholesterol plaques are often what happen after the lining has already been inflamed and sticky for too long. Caring for the endothelium is upstream. It is the intervention before the intervention. Mistake number 2. Sitting for most of the day and treating your weekend run as sufficient. As I just said, shear stress has to be regular. One long workout does not compensate for 5 days of desk sitting. Your endothelium experiences flow, or it doesn't, in real time. Short movement breaks throughout the day are not just good habit, they are the mechanism. Set a timer if you need to. Mistake number 3. Heavy or chronic smoking, or regular exposure to secondhand smoke. Of all the things that damage the endothelial lining, cigarette smoke is among the most direct and the fastest acting. The chemicals in smoke impair nitric oxide synthase, promote oxidative stress in the vessel wall, and drive inflammation. If you smoke, stopping is the single most powerful thing you can do for your vascular lining. There is no food or supplement that neutralizes what smoke does to the drawbridge. Mistake number 4. Chasing nitric oxide supplements instead of the foods and movement that produce it naturally. The supplement industry has enthusiastically latched on to the nitric oxide story, and there are shelves full of products making claims. The evidence base for most of them is far weaker than the evidence for dietary nitrate from real vegetables and regular aerobic exercise. Eat the arugula. Walk after dinner. The mechanism is the same, and the evidence is better. Before we wrap up, I want to be clear about something, because this matters. Everything here is to help you understand your own body and ask better questions of your doctor, not to self-diagnose, not to replace medical care, and absolutely not to change your medications without your physician's guidance. If you already have diagnosed vascular disease, heart disease, or are on blood pressure or cholesterol medications, these habits belong alongside your treatment plan, not instead of it. And if you ever have chest pain, severe shortness of breath, or symptoms of a cardiovascular emergency, that is a 911 situation, not a time to recall something you watched online. This is evidence-based information. It is not personal medical advice. But here is the truth I want you to carry out of this. Your blood vessels are not pipes rusting on a fixed timeline toward an inevitable end. That thin, living, one-cell-thick lining repairs itself. It responds to what you feed it and how you move. Genetics set the architecture of the castle. Daily habits work the drawbridge. The Nobel Prize-winning science tells us that a gas your own body produces, triggered by leafy greens, by the movement of blood, by every brisk walk you take, is a core part of how your vascular system stays young. You have real leverage here, more than most people realize. So do 2 things today. Eat something green and leafy at your next meal. Arugula in a salad, spinach in an omelet, whatever you'll actually eat. And take a 20-minute walk. Not to burn calories, not to train for anything, but to send the right mechanical signal to the inner lining of every artery in your body and let the drawbridge do what it was designed to do. If this gave you something worth thinking about, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And share this with someone in your life who talks about their blood pressure or their cholesterol, but has never once heard the word endothelium. It might be exactly the piece they were missing.